Hey. Hey.
Hi.
Hi. So the connection may be good. It may be, we'll see. Okay.
Cool. Sounds good.
Okay. Um, Albert, how does, and I'm coming from Los Gatos. It might be all these trees. Maybe the trees are blocking the signal. I don't know. So, how do we know each other?
How do we know each other? I think Cliff introduced us at the Loft last summer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we saw each other at the loft, right?
Yeah, and I don't remember what it was we were seeing though.
Yeah. Was it
Um,
a horror movie? Did we see a horror movie?
was it The Shining or The Thing? No. What else?
No.
Was it the Sparks movies?
Yeah, well, I think we saw one before that, but I do remember we saw the Sparks movie together. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. That was a good
Yeah,
one.
it was good. So I've been asking the question about what do people do regularly? Like what do they do on a regular basis? And I asked that because you told me you draw on a regular basis. Like you have a routine of drawing every day.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, I'd have several hours to draw. It usually doesn't work out that well. And, I strive to draw every day, but it doesn't always happen. Sometimes it's only 4 or 5 times a week or that sort of. But yeah, I try
Oh,
to
the striving.
strive. And even if I can't, you know, put in that time, even 10 or 15, 20 minutes makes a difference. Just, sitting in bed and sketching a little bit before I fall asleep. It's nice, and I feel like
And is that
it
something that you is that something that you do for your work or for your mental clarity or what part of you is that appealing
all
to?
of the above.
All of the
No,
above?
I think it's just good practice for artists. I think it helps you stay connected to your work and just get you in that kind of mindset of every chance you get, you have to be making some stuff and trying to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And doesn't work for every artist. Some artists have a lot more setup time and that sort of thing. But when you're just drawing in sketchbooks or ledger books or accounting books or that kind of thing, it's pretty immediate. And that's what's so great about drawing too. You
Yeah.
don't need.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. You'll have to repeat that last part. It kind of went out.
Well, yeah, I was just saying that it doesn't require a lot of setup to draw. It's pretty fast, pretty immediate.
Yeah.
Is that the same for you?
Uh, so I have a studio and I go to the studio to get to finally making something. Because I've got a lot of swimming through my own mental trash to get there. But
Yeah.
so sometimes I'm writing, sometimes I'm uh, doing what I like color splotches, looking at colors together. Sometimes I'm testing out mediums next to each other. And when it comes to the actual drawing, I think we talked about this. Sometimes the actual drawing happens when I'm not supposed to be doing it. So when I'm at home, supposed to be working on a class, I'll have a piece of paper next to the computer, and all of a sudden I'm in the mood to draw, and then all sorts of stuff is happening. So I often will take those things that basically look like doodles. I'll take them to the studio, and hopefully that there'll be some transference to what goes on in the studio. So yeah.
I absolutely do that. I keep a kind of pad of paper next to me at work when I'm on Zoom meetings. I'm just kind of just sketching, not watching it too much, just kind of just going through the motions. But I get a lot of good stuff out of it sometimes, and bring it back home. My home is my studio. I don't have a dedicated studio. I have a room in my house, but generally I just sit at my kitchen table and do all of my drawing. So I
Great.
don't have
Yeah,
full.
I mean, Drawing, I mean, kitchen tables are great for drawing, and just drawing is like, it's very portable compared to other people's practices. The last
Yeah,
person I spoke to, we were talking about artists who have like a whole cadre of people that help them. It's basically like a whole setup for them to do their work. And I do love the simplicity of drawing.
definitely. I agree. See, Lex said, I'm just here to see lines Albert draws.
Yeah, no
I'm
pressure. Yeah. So, would you like to, we're going to do some doodling, so, or drawing,
curious.
and I invite everyone out in the studio audience to join us as we talk. This is interactive as much as you want it to be. And for those of you who've just joined, Albert and myself, we are both Tucsonian artists, but I also do this show every Friday night from 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Doodle with me is just 20 minutes of just drawing and chat. We kind of go over sometimes too. We'll have to today because we've started a little late due to some technical difficulties. Thank you for joining us, and both Albert and folks who've just joined. And let's do some drawing.
Let's do it.
And I usually don't go with lined ledgers, but it seems to me so it's perfect.
You have lined paper? That's great.
I found that funny. It wasn't on purpose either. All right. And you work in ledgers a lot, right?
I do. I love working in old accounting ledgers. If I can find them, they've gotten a little bit tougher to find, but I'm pretty resourceful, so I can still get my hands on them quite a bit. And
what do you like about them?
I'm not sure. About maybe 10 years ago, a friend gave me one for a birthday present, and I didn't care for it too much at first, but I was drawing, and I was using like mixed media and watercolor and pencils and kind of older books from the 50s, like old kids encyclopedias and that kind of thing. They print stuff on really nice paper, and it can hold a lot of medium on it, and it was a lot of fun. And once my friend gave me the ledger that I really loved, loved it and never looked back. So working that way, and just gathered as many of them as I could get my hands on, and I have piles of them now. What do you? But I also like to draw on plain paper and arches or Stonehenge or anything like that. I'll draw on anything, to be honest.
Yeah, I do like about lined paper. I do like the fact that it's meant for something else, so I don't have as much pressure to produce something precious.
Yeah. The other thing I think is that a blank sheet of paper can be intimidating, and just that kind of just something is, there's some structure already there ready for you to start making your marks on. Makes it pretty nice.
I wonder if I think of it as destroying the marks, or if I think of it as maybe I'm like re-owning it. Like I know I'm supposed to do something on the lined paper that's important. So in some ways I feel like maybe I'm rebelling, like my
Sure.
my marks are rebelling against writing by drawing or something. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking that one. But
do you think there's any, because for me, I think a lot about writers who have to write, and they don't generally draw or write on blank sheets. They'll do on lined paper. And I think I've always felt a connection to writers in that way.
Mm-hmm.
that you sit down and you've got the blank sheet of paper in front of you and you have to make something out of it. And maybe there's something there for me too.
Yeah, I actually use writing in some of my work. I do. I will often take sentences, or sentences will occur to me, and I'll, um, the old high school bubble writing.
Oh, sure.
So I,
Absolutely.
I kind of have done an offshoot of the bubble writing for a while. And then during the pandemic, it became kind of horror writing, which kind of looks like it's dripping or it's nervous. And then I started to realize, oh, this, it's like, it's not really a font I've created, but this, this anxious writing is really perfect for me. It's kind of my personality coming through the words.
Are you still making that work, or is that just something you did during pandemic?
No, I still make it. It kind of I use it a lot for the promos, when I do little promos for Doodle with Me, and I also use it when I do album covers for Kid and
Hmm.
his band. And I've kind of over the last couple of years have embraced my kind of my gothy beginnings. It's not really goth. It's more like Universal Studios kind of horror film looking stuff. Kind of gotten into that again for some reason, but yeah, I used to really try for a more elegant, restrained look to my work, and uh, it's hard for me to do that now for some reason. Maybe because I'm off my meds.
That might do it.
Just my body now coming through what I do. I don't know. Anyway,
Well,
maybe too much information, Albert.
no,
No,
not too much information at all. I mean, it's all part of it, right? You know,
right.
it all ends up in the work in some way. So maybe I need more meds. Maybe that's the issue.
No. Why would you say that?
Um,
I do have a question too about because a lot of your work is labor intensive, at least according to me. I work very fast, but you have a kind of a patience with going for a final unified outcome.
yeah.
And I wonder sometimes if there's a state of mind that happens, a trance-like state, or is it more the work, or is it more like the building of a pyramid? You know what I mean? Like you're working
Yeah.
towards a final outcome. So,
I'm working towards a final outcome. I do get asked that a lot if it's meditative and that kind of thing. And no, it's making work like making any other work. And
mm,
I don't go into any kind of trance. I don't go into any sort of meditative state or anything like that. Honestly, I'd probably get bored if I did. But instead, I kind of just think about life and everything that's happening in it, and my job and my relationships and my
mm,
kids and all that kind of stuff comes up. So as a result, for me, the work I make is really personal. It's
mm.
all very much connected to my day-to-day life.
Cool. That
Yeah.
can, I mean, I think during meditation, it's not like the thoughts just stop. I mean, I think that that's a myth about meditation, that somehow our mind becomes empty. I think for me at least, the mind becomes empty when one's not trying, or maybe that's just me. But but uh but I do think a mind full of thoughts is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I definitely have the idea, stereotype that meditation is very much about emptying the mind. So I like hearing that, but it's it's not. Maybe I should try it.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has something that is good for them. So, yeah, I mean, I was involved with a Zen meditation practice for a long time, and I completely exoticized it. And it wasn't like cultural tourism. I was in it, to win it. I mean, I was like, at one point, I thought I'd become a monk, and that was my
Wow.
whole thing. But with all of that, there was a lot of things I started to realize, which was there's some Eastern concepts that a Western mind can turn into a goal that isn't really a goal, if that makes any kind of sense.
Um, I don't
Yeah.
elaborate on that. Help me out. What does that mean?
I just think sometimes, and I might just be talking about myself when I talk about everyone else, which is probably not a good thing.
Okay.
Um, but I do think sometimes Westerners go into a lot of practices that aren't Western based with a goal orientation, like with
Sure.
like I'm going to do this, and a lot of times it's you learn from the actual practice, like who you are. It's not that you become something different, if that makes sense.
It
So
does. Yeah, that does make sense.
yeah, and I mean, for me at least, I'm not like sprinkling old man wisdom here, but for who you are may be someone with a lot of mental chatter. It's just that you get used to it and you accept it, and then it's kind of like, oh, it's not so important anymore to try to fight it. And I guess that's kind of what's happened with me. I mean, I no longer practice Zen meditation. I love the artwork that comes out of those traditions, only because it is something different than produced by the
Yeah.
church. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me it was an alternative it was an alternative that I thought, like with Japanese art, I had made up some stories about it having a kind of um, care and attention to time and attention to ritual, and a respect for nature that I wasn't finding around me in Western culture. And so I was really attracted to it. And then after a while, I realized, well, I'm going to have to find, my own way. Anyway, I'm going off on this. So I have a question. A question. You photograph your work against cardboard on your Instagram feed.
I do. I do. I do.
Can you tell me about your relationship to cardboard?
It's a complicated relationship I have with cardboard. It's no, it was just practicality. I don't remember how I started. I just had a piece lying around, and I had been taking pictures of ledgers with different kinds of backgrounds, and I didn't like them. I didn't like the contrast or the look, and I used cardboard. I'd use black foam core as well sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But there was something about the cardboard that I just liked. It was I sort of like that I make work and I want it to look very just kind of plain, just kind of very easily accessible. I use like stuff that everyone's familiar with, accounting ledgers and pilot pens like these ones, which are my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
You can get those at Office Max or Target or anywhere you want. And cardboard's the same way. It's just easy and available in our life, easy to find and get a hold of, and I sort of just like that idea.
What I really like about it is it's like, because you're using humble materials,
Yeah,
um, it actually accentuates the the extraordinariness of your work. So because your work takes a lot of time and a lot of physical effort, the humble materials are kind of saying, look, you don't need a whole lot to be
yeah,
able to make something full of wonder, And
it's
so
true.
I really appreciate that, because it does make me look more at what you're doing. Sometimes I get distracted by if people are using amazing materials, like, oil paint has a lot of baggage around it, and a lot of history around it. And the fact that one can do wonderful things with simple materials is really refreshing, and
Yeah,
that's
it's
something that I feel like some other cultural traditions kind of emphasize more, and
it
not
is,
as, yeah.
and it's tricky, and it's plain, and any sort of framing or presentation of work. I like a formal look, and it's probably has a lot to do with my job as well. I work at an art museum.
Oh yeah, right. Well, I think hopefully he'll come back. Hi, everybody who's joined us.
Sorry,
All
Ron.
right.
No,
Oh,
that was
looks
Cliff
like you're
calling,
back.
actually.
That's all right. Oh, really?
I am back.
He should be, tell
Yeah,
Cliff he should be watching the
he should be
show. He
watching.
should be, get, get on the
Um,
phone in another way.
I know. I'm pretty, I work at an art museum and I'm pretty obsessed with presentation and how work is presented through lighting and, elevating it through framing or putting it on a pedestal. And that was also one of the things that drew me to cardboard, was just the kind of opposite of all of that I do in a formal way.
Yeah. It's funny, because I also come from a museum background, and the cardboard is really used a lot of times a lot of times I see preparators use cardboard in ways just to keep things clean, or to keep things, separated, or I mean, you wouldn't do it for too long,
Yeah,
because of course it's
exactly.
highly acidic. We don't want to. But at the same time,
Yes.
yeah, I could see where being around that material would be inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another,
All of the materials, mat board, chloroplast, and all of the kind of museum materials.
yeah, you can kind of fetishize them. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about cardboard too. I like that. I used to do a lot of hand lettered signs for my partner Kid used to have a DJ night, and I started to make these hand lettered signs just with black paint and cardboard that I'd find around. And I felt like it was super beatniky. And then I started to go like, oh my God, there's like an art to this. I could really have fun with just these simple perimeters and try to make things more and more interesting with them.
I wonder, are people drawing with us? People doodling, do you think?
I hope so. There's a lot of people coming in, so I'm waving at them. And people may draw, people may be eating, people may not even know it's on. It could just be like accidentally turned on in their pocket as they're walking to their car from the supermarket. I mean, I don't know. I hope that they're tuning into every kernel of wisdom that you and I are sharing tonight.
Colonel Wisdom. Have you had dinner yet? Do you know what you're going to have tonight for dinner?
I just ate so I got off a plane, I don't know, maybe 3 hours ago. I had some water. I had some granola balls from the airport.
Nice.
I had some of that bark, that chocolate bark.
Oh, I love that stuff.
It is good, but I overate it, unfortunately. Yeah. And yeah, so I didn't really have a balanced meal. I think we're going to go out for pizza after this call.
Nice.
Oh, oh my gosh. I had avocado toast. I forgot about that, because Ruth made me, who's on the line right now, Kid's sister, and my sister-in-law made me avocado toast. It was very good. It's a nice piece of bread. It's toasted, avocado in it, a little bit of Dijon mustard with a little bit of that horseradish kind of taste.
Oh, wow.
And then she used this bagel seasoning, which is like salt, pepper, some like roasted garlic, roast sesame, and roasted onion. It's called everything but the bagel.
Yeah, is that Trader Joe's? Is that their brand? I think
that is Trader Joe's.
It's good. Yeah, that's good stuff.
It is good. I like Trader Joe's, but sometimes I feel like there's too much packaging. But what am I? Whatever. It tastes good. I just sometimes feel like there's too much packaging.
Yeah, I agree. I know what you mean.
Sometimes too, when I've been looking at your work, and I wonder if you've been, because you create systems. For me, when I look at it, there's like, you've created these systems. I wonder if like designers, like mid-century designers have influenced you, people like Paul Rand, or not the politician, but.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of 20th century American furniture. So yeah,
Ah,
definitely. I don't know that I'd call it so much an influence that I would cite and say that yeah, I'm into. But in general, it's I think that just existing and walking around and looking at things is mostly the influence of my work,
yeah,
and a lot of that includes looking at furniture
yeah,
and looking at things and seeing what I like and don't like. And furniture is nice because it's you just get to look at lines. You can look at
right,
furniture from any angle, and you're just seeing how they considered that and came up with the shape, the form they wanted.
right. That makes a lot of sense. And the architecture too is kind of interesting when we talked a little bit about architecture. I
Yeah,
do have a little bit of a nostalgia for like mid-century, and I know for a while mid-century furniture became really popular,
yeah,
and probably still is.
oh
Uh,
yeah,
and but my nostalgia is kind of like that time period. In America seemed like a time when there was it kind of like the height of the empire, in a way, like a time
yeah,
where America was considered like you know at the top of their game, and there was this kind of um, this project of progress that people were all kind of going towards, and an ideal that somehow America was going to pull the rest of civilization along or something like
yeah. That was a big mistake, huh?
that. well, I think it was, kind of like Hollywood. It was one director's fantasy, and then everyone
Yeah,
else decided that would be their reality too. It's like I think the fantasy was, basically a white male's fantasy, and
exactly.
we all got to uh, think there was nothing wrong with it until we decided, oh, well, not decided, until people started to realize, oh, wow, not a lot of people are being represented here.
Yeah, and the
To
world
say
we're living
it.
in isn't fair to most people, except
Right,
white guys. Yeah,
right. And even though I mean, and my thing about as a white guy is that it's not, in the long run, the fantasy is cheating white guys out of actually living a much more richer life. It's hard to be paranoid and in power all the time.
yeah,
I mean, we're talking the fantasy here. I'm not saying this is everyone's reality, but I tried to be a straight male for as long as I could. It was hard. No, that's kind of a joke. That's a joke. What do I mean by that? I mean that there's a lot of pressures, I think, that were also created that that benefited no one. I'm going to get in trouble. I have a feeling that I might get in trouble for these things, but we'll see how it goes. I just don't. Yeah, in the long run, uh, the bubble had to pop,
yes.
and it's a good thing. How much do politics enter your work in terms of your thinking about it, or I'm just kind of curious about that because that's something that I try to um, figure out. Like, do
I
I? Yeah,
yeah, I think that's a good question. I don't know that anybody can avoid the real world from entering their work. I don't make work directly about it. My work is, like I said earlier, really personal and has more to do with myself and my day-to-day stuff. But that's the politics and what's going on in the world is also part of everything else I'm absorbing while I'm
right.
working and paying
Yeah,
attention to and being outraged. But especially during Trump years, it was easy to just be pissed off every day and angry about something. And I didn't find that particularly helpful. That wasn't a motivator for my work. And I think that some people, maybe it was a really motivating kind of thing.
yeah, not me.
Not
I
me.
mean, for me, it was like every bully fantasy I dealt with, when I was a kid. I mean, it just felt
Yeah.
like the bully was finally in charge, and everything was kind of like, okay, wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was weird. I got really obsessed with like reading about Hitler and Nazism. So that was like, an added bonus. I got to learn about that stuff.
You were reading
Um,
about that while he was president?
yeah, I was watching this TV show Babylon Berlin, and it was at the same time as Trump, and then a kid and I were like, "This is too real." It was like weird to watch stuff about that time period, and then also be living in a time period that where you're scared that it's happening.
Yeah.
So I wanted to understand it more. So I started to read a little more about it, and uh, just kind of I wanted to know, like, how did he come to power, and what were the techniques that he was using. And it was basically hate speech and creation of fear, and kind of, but it wasn't just one person doing it. It was really actually the family structure, an authoritarian family structure that made people feel comfortable with the ways that he was exercising his power. So fascism basically starts at home.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's kind of what I ended up kind of learning, and kind of got into that. And I was reading a little bit of the work of Wilhelm Reich, and the idea of channeling repressed sexuality into to violence and military um, thinking, and all that kind of stuff too. So, I mean, it was interesting. I'm not sure where it was kind of like I was trying to figure out how to put it in my art, and it was hard. Yeah.
Hard to know what to do with that in an artistic sense, huh?
Well, yeah, I think sometimes I'm reading and I'm like, I want to put it all in the artwork. And sometimes it's like, no, really, the best thing for the artwork is just to be there in the practice, and not try to illustrate things. So I struggle with that, but
I like what you're drawing. So you're right-handed?
I am right. Are you a left-handed person?
I'm a left-handed person, so I get all this ink on the side of my hand, and I smudge all over my drawings.
You'd
And
never know.
I know, well, that's my own personal kind of a thing I get excited about. But yeah, I've ruined plenty of drawings by being left-handed and smearing ink. And it's
Wow.
always right at the when you're getting close to finishing something.
I have a drawing of cats that's very large, and right at the end of it, I was very controlled, lots of detailed fur rendering, and then right at the end of it, a big drip came down to one down at the bottom part of it, and I was just like, I'm gonna keep it, that way people will know this isn't a photograph, right?
Yeah. Do you draw cats a lot? Do you have cats?
We have a cat now. I no, it was I was doing drawings from the internet, and I was very interested in bad Photoshop. So it was more about rendering the bad Photoshop, and not as much about the cats. But people got excited about the cats.
Yeah.
But anyway, in the long run, I rendered some animals. I seem to be I rendered a dog, and a group of cats, and an owl. And so sometimes I'll do animals.
What's your cat's name? The one that you have now?
Elroy.
Elroy. That's a nice name for a cat.
Yeah, it started off as El Rio because that's where we live, and that's where he kind of was born. And then it was too hard to say El Rio, so we just kind of smeared it together into Elroy, and then it kind of meant something. It has another meaning. So yeah. So we're actually kind of heading into the final part of this. Our 20 minutes is up, and I just
It went so fast.
yeah, it does go fast, but it's because we're doing what we like, right?
Yeah, true. It's true.
No, it's been great talking with you. I really appreciate your time, and just you sharing a little bit about your process and yourself, and I'm sure people appreciate hearing about it. And for our studio audience, please go check out Albert's Instagram. It's nicely curated, as to use a museum term. And it really showcases his work. So
yeah, I
Yeah.
want to say thank you so much for inviting me to draw with you. I'd love to draw in person sometime
Oh,
with you. Yeah.
oh, fun.
It is a lot of fun. It's fun to draw in a group of people around a table or in a space where everybody's got room and has some time. And I'd also like to take a second to say, to
Oh,
do a
yeah.
little shameless self-promotion here and say that I am in a group show next month at Pigeon Palace Arts, which is at 1100 South 6th Avenue here in Tucson. And
Woohoo.
name of the show is The Double Penny, and it is myself, Yu Shiratori, and Rachel Rios, and also Geneva Gluck, who will be doing a performance with Rachel Rios. Saturday, November 6th. Please come out and see it. It should be a really fun time. Really great work that all of us are going to be making for that.
Great. Thanks. Well, we'll put a link to your account in the when I archive this episode, and people can go to your account from there. And if you're posting anything about the show, they'll be able to see it there. So thanks.
Perfect.
I'm going to turn the camera around and just to say goodbye. All right. Thanks. Thanks from Los Gatos, California. And our connection worked out really well.
And it came through in the end.
What was that?
That it came through in the end. Was that good?
It did. It came through. The spirits of the interwebs and Wi-Fi granted us communication. So I appreciate that. And I hope that we can, I hope we can draw together soon, and can't wait to go out and see a movie with you. So look forward to that. Yeah.
Oh.
And everybody who's joined us, if you've joined us late or joined us kind of in the middle or joined us at the end, this happens every Friday night, 6 p.m. to Pacific Standard Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's called Doodle with Me. And I have a different guest every week. And each conversation and each guest is a different person. So you'll never know what to expect. Please join us next time when you can. And thank you. Have a great weekend. And thanks again, Albert. And yeah, appreciate it. Okay. Good night.
Bye.